Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Closing Bell. This is Jeremy Friedman, one of the head instructors over here at Cyber Trading University. And this afternoon, we have a real treat for you guys. We have Jeff Gibby from MetaStock presenting 3 steps to a successful trade. Now, Jeff, he's been working for MetaStock for about 19 years. He's currently in charge of new business development, and he helps create MetaStock distributors and partners worldwide. Mr. Gibby works with training companies to help people learn the power of MetaStock, and he's spoken to traders from around the world and has trained people on how to use the software as well as trade various markets. Among his areas of responsibilities are the management of new products and services for MetaStock and creating strategic partnerships. And now I present to you Jeff Gibby. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Closing Bell. This is Jeremy Friedman, one of the instructors over here at Cyber Trading University. This afternoon, we have a very special presentation for you. We have Jeff Gibby from MetaStock with 3 steps to successful trade. Now, Jeff Gibby's been working for MetaStock for about 19 years. He's currently in charge of new business development and works to create new MetaStock distributors and partners worldwide. Mr. Gibby works with training companies to help people learn the power of MetaStock, and he also has spoken to traders from around the world as well as trained people on how to use the software and trade various markets. Among his areas of expertise are the responsibilities of the management of new products and services for MetaStock and creating strategic partnerships. And with that, I give to you Jeff Gibby.
All right. Okay, everybody. Hello. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Coming through? All right. Good. Well, hello. Thanks for coming. I want to thank Cyber Trading University for having me. Let's go ahead and get started, I guess. I'll give you a little bit of background on me. I've worked for MetaStock for, well, I think it's going to be 19 years here at the end of this month, so it's been a long time. It's a great job. I enjoy doing it. It's a great software program. I've worked everywhere from inside sales, and now I'm kind of in charge of kind of our international dealership program, and it's just been a lot of fun. And I enjoy working with Fausto and kind of our educators. And so there you go. That's just probably enough about me, really. Let's go ahead and get started. I do have to read this legal disclaimer. So here we go. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock, the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So, if you happen to be in the room and you already use MetaStock, I should say so in the chat. Just let me know if you're a MetaStock user. Just go ahead and type in yes or that kind of stuff. The sound is rather sibilant. Oh, that's a little bit of a... is it a little bit too loud? Is that what you mean, Joe? I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Just that's what you mean. Out a little bit. It's kind of going to... So let me see if I can't adjust it down a little bit to see if I can't get it less sibilant. How's that sound? I turned it down a little bit so I wasn't kind of peeking out the... Okay, cool. If it is too low for you, just modify your microphone. And thank you for the dictionary word of the day. I would have had to look that one up for sure. So I'm glad it's coming through a little bit better. Let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about MetaStock. Today's class, just to kind of talk to you a little bit about today's class, it's actually one of my favorite classes to give because it's very specific about trading with MetaStock, and a really cool, unique little system that's inside the MetaStock program that it's actually the first one I started trading with real money. So, but in case you're not familiar with MetaStock, it's a company that's been in business since the 80s. We used to be owned by Reuters. Now that it's called Thomson Reuters, and we were a member of Thomson Reuters until we purchased ourselves back about a year and a half, 2 years ago, 2013. I guess it's been 3 years almost already, which is kind of crazy. So we still have a great partnership with Reuters. We still sell like their news. We're one of the places where you can come to get their news, but not pay like retail bank prices for it. And overall, it's been pretty good. We've been able to kind of focus on our software and our development cycle since we left. So still great partners of ours. It's good to work for, in my opinion, it's good to work for a company that doesn't have 30,000 employees and is much smaller and tighter knit. So it's been a good move. In any case, one of the things that I always like to say is MetaStock's been rated #1 23 years in a row by the readers of Stocks and Commodities magazine, including this year, and then the last 23 in front of that. And our that's for our what we call our MetaStock DC product. Our RT has actually won 10 years now in a row. So in any case, so today what I want to talk about is the Rahul Mohindar oscillator system in MetaStock. Very simple system. I like to show it because I've shown it in a lot of different places. It works on a lot of different instruments, and it's pretty easy to use. And it's a good starter system. Again, it's the first one that I used to trade. I do want to get really specific because I'm not going to cover a lot of the stuff that's available in MetaStock and in a product that we call Zenith. And so what I want to do is just kind of say, this is a huge tool. I'm not going to talk really a lot about what MetaStock is or what Zenith is to too much of a degree today. What I really want to do is get really kind of specific and show you really something that I think you can kind of use right away in the program. So Zenith is a product that we retail. It's really Thomson Reuters icon. We've white labeled it. Thomson Reuters spent about $1 billion on it. It's phenomenal if you're looking for economic events, if you're looking to be able to look at news, if you're looking to be able to look at options, if you're looking to be able to look at fundamentals, if you want to do screening on the market. It's really a fantastic product. Again, they spent about $1 billion developing it out. And we won't really talk about that at all today. I just want you to know it's part of your trial if you do MetaStock RT. And also in addition, we're just going to be covering a small part of MetaStock. So not really going to cover how MetaStock tests trade ideas. I'm not going to really show scanning a lot, although it does do that. And we do have a pretty cool forecaster in there. Again, the whole point of these last two slides is getting very specific about one part of the program that I kind of happen to like, one trading methodology built into it. And that is the RMO oscillator. So most of the presentation today will be in MetaStock. We're going to be looking at some charts in it. I'm going to be kind of showing you how everything works and how everything ties together. Rahul Mohindar is a very famous technician, particularly in India. A lot of people ask us, well, who's this Rahul Mohindar and what's his system? He's actually a dealer of MetaStock, and he's actually been one of our dealers in India since before I started here, so for more than 20 years. The genesis of this system is he was in our office, and it's probably been 7 or 8 years ago, and we said, okay, well, you do all this training. He trains people how to trade in India. Can you show us what you're teaching people? And so he showed us what this system. We really like this system. To make a long story short, we ended up buying it from him, and we include it in MetaStock in every version that goes out the door since about MetaStock, I think 10 or 11. So it's just an included system in MetaStock and built by Rahul Mohindar, and it's built around his indicators. So it's pretty cool. Hope you like it. It is a trend following system. I'm sure you hear like the trend is your friend, or a rising tide lifts all boats, or befriend the trend, or trend is your friend until it ends, those type of things. This is generally looking to determine market entry. It's based on trading a connection with the trend. We're going to get into this quite a bit, but the idea is if the if the long-term trend's going up and the short-term trend is going up, we're going to be looking to take advantage of that trend movement. So it's a trend following system. And the reason I like to show it, again, is it's very, very easy. Very easy to understand. If I do my job properly, you'll understand exactly how to trade RMO before we're done today. It's also objective. So at no point are we going to say, well, this is a result of the ending of quantitative easing, or the fact that they're raising interest rates, or we're not going to be looking at those things. What we're going to be doing is looking at stuff that's very, very measurable, stuff that's very, very objective and not subjective, stuff that is rule-based. It also uses stop losses, so it employs solid money management. And I've shown it in a lot of different places in the world over the last 10 or 15 years, and works on a lot of different instruments, not all instruments, but on a lot of different instruments, and it's a fairly reliable system. So with that being said, let's get to the rules on it. I'm going to basically start toggling off into some charts. Everybody's if you guys do have questions as we go through this, go ahead and let me know. And obviously, if we want to trade with the trend or befriend the trend, we want to be able to identify the trend. So it really comes into the step one of our kind of three-step triggering process into a trade. How do we identify the primary prevailing trend? And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get into my MetaStock chart here. This is a chart of the DIA, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's an ETF that you can trade just like the Dow. We're just really going to kind of focus on this one in terms of trend identification and that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how we identify what the trend is. To do that, Rahul, this is the Rahul Mohinder oscillator, this green line here, and it's very simple the way that you read it. It doesn't matter if it's way above zero or way below zero. Really kind of what we're looking at is where it is in relationship to zero. Okay, so the way that we kind of look at this is a measurement of our primary trend, our prevailing trend, and it's very simple. If it's above zero, then we're going to say the market is bullish. Okay, if it's below zero, like it has been for the last the very first part of this year to just a few weeks ago, we're going to say that the overall market trend is bearish. Okay, and it's really that simple. I got a cough. Hold on a second. Hopefully that muted for you. You didn't hear that. But in any case, so if we're bullish, right now we're bullish. We've been bullish since, well, March 2nd. So if we're bullish, then kind of the rules are pretty simple. Again, we want to trade with the trend, right? So if we're bullish, that means that our primary trend is bullish. It's above zero. And if we want to trade in conjunction with that, then we would be allowed to buy at this point, okay? But we're not allowed to go short, okay? And this isn't a trigger. Basically, it's not a trigger in the case that just because it goes from -0 to +0, we don't go ahead and place an order. It's just basically like telling us what the traffic pattern is. So if we're looking at the weather, right now we can say that the Dow is moving up sharply, or it's trending up since March 2nd. Because we want to trade in conjunction with that trend, we're going to be looking for opportunities to go long in that marketplace. Okay, but we won't be looking at any short. Basically what we're doing is we're setting our direction for the trade. Okay, and then MetaStock makes this even easier to read. Like I said, size and shape don't matter. It doesn't matter if it's really, really far up or really far or just barely above zero. Rahul likes to keep it simple. It's either above zero, in which case you're allowed to buy, or it's below zero, in which case you're allowed to short. Okay. So that's very, and then the way that we kind of make that a little bit even simpler on the chart for you to read is we've got a trend ribbon that comes in on the bottom here. And you'll notice during this huge move down that we had the first part of this year, it's basically bearish the whole time. It says on the chart RMO bearish when it's below zero and RMO bullish when it's above zero. Okay, so step number one. Are we bullish? Right now, yeah, looking at the chart, we're bullish on Dow. That might change, but at this particular point, unless it does change, we'd only be looking to take long positions. Is that clear for everybody? And do you have a question? Okay. And if you do, go ahead and just type it in. Okay. Okay. So that's step one. Again, if it's bullish zone, you're allowed to buy. It's not a trigger to enter. Again, there's two more steps. Again, it's what we're doing is we're looking for kind of to take advantage of the trend and to measure it. Okay. The other thing, the next thing we want to do is we want to identify the short-term trend, which is also pretty easy to do. If we were to come into MetaStock again, I'm going to go ahead and kind of make this indicator this set of two indicators full screen. And I'm just going to change the display. The thing that's easy about MetaStock is I want to be able to manipulate things. The way Rahul likes to look at it this way, I don't really prefer this view. So if you want to change anything in MetaStock, just double click on it. I'm going to make this into a line. I'll go ahead and click on apply. Go ahead and click on close. And now I can see, I just like that view a little bit better. Okay. The indicator that we're going to focus on right now, there's two of them in here. There's swing trade number 2, which is this purple color, and swing trade number 3, which we'll get to in a second. Right now we're going to be looking at the swing trade number 2, which is Rahul's short-term measurement of the trend indicator. Okay. You'll notice that it's also either above 0 or below 0. You'll also notice that it moves a lot faster because it's looking at a shorter time frame. So it's also read the same way. Coincidentally. So in this particular case, we look at it the same way. If it's above 0, which it is right now, then we're going to say that short term this is also bullish. If it's below 0, then we're going to say it's also it's bearish right now, short term. Okay. The important things about this is we look at it the same way. We want it to match. So if we're in a situation right now, it's bullish in both time zones, but or in both time frames, short term and long term. But if it's in a place where it doesn't match, we wouldn't be looking at any trade. What we'd be doing is we'd be waiting for a trade to be established or a trend to be established before we took a trade. So in this particular case, though, they do match. In other words, it's bullish now, and it's bullish long term now. So we are allowed to still take a long term position. Okay. If they don't match, we wait until they do match. We want to put the odds in our favor of taking a good trade and not being caught in like a sideways action or whatever. Okay. The other thing that we kind of do to kind of show this visually on the chart is we actually color code the bars. So short term, if you're weak, you're going to have red bars. So anytime this is below 0, you're going to see that the bars are painted red. When it comes up above 0, you're going to notice that it's blue here. Okay, pretty simple. Looking at the chart of Dow today, we're bullish long term, we're bullish short term, we're allowed to take long trades. Okay, if we're looking at it right here, we're bullish short term, but we're bearish long term, so we'd be waiting for that trend to be established. It's really kind of the way that it's read. Cool. I notice that questions might be coming in, but I might not be seeing them. Okay. Nope, it looks like I'm looking at the most current questions. Okay. All right. So very simple. That's step number 2. Nope. Let's go here. Identify the short-term trend. Again, if the primary trend or the long-term trend is bullish, and the short-term trend is bullish, you're allowed to buy. If they're both bearish, you're allowed to short. You're not allowed to go against the trend. And if they don't match, you're not allowed to trade. You're just allowed to wait. There is a scanning capability in MetaStock that can allow you to scan through the markets and find just about anything you want, including these signals. So if you don't have a trade and you really want one, well, then look for one that actually will work and that's kind of matching up to kind of what the system is telling you to do. Okay. Okay, so step number 3 is identifying the trigger. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit more in detailed about kind of how to put your stops in place and how to move them and that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and kind of get into that a little bit as well here. Okay. So to identify where the trigger is, and you'll notice that we actually are putting buy and sell arrows on this chart. I want to tell you why that's happening and where it's happening and that kind of stuff. So let me go back into this second and third indicator, the swing trade 2 and the swing trade number 3. Okay, and really what we're measuring here, the swing trade 2 is the short-term momentum of the stock, or the short-term trend of the stock, I should say, where swing trade 3 is more kind of the medium term, and then the RMO is obviously the longer term. With the entry signals, what we're looking at is we're looking for the relationship between the price of the stock and basically the relationship between the short-term trend and the medium-term trend. So for example, if we were kind of to look at this particular area right here, what's happening right here is we got very, very bearish short-term, and then it started to go up, and that what happened right here, or what happens when this crosses, is what Rahul calls a change of momentum, or a change of direction, or a change of force. Okay, and when that happens, you're going to get a buy signal on a chart. So right here we had that change of momentum. The purple line, for lack of a better way to say it, it crossed up above the blue line, and that issued a buy signal. Now we wouldn't take a buy signal here because it would violate our rule. That just tells us that maybe the momentum of the stock is actually starting to move up, in this case the whole Dow Industrial, and that we should be looking for log opportunities if we go bullish. Okay. In this particular case, we don't go bullish for quite some time. Here we finally go bullish because we had such a big downward move here. Here we finally go bullish, but it takes until March 2nd to do that. And then our RMO finally goes bullish. Okay. And when everything does match up like this, you'll notice that it was the difference between, it took a few weeks for it to kind of reestablish this upward trend. But when everything does line up, in other words, when you do have that change of momentum, which happened back here, it goes bullish short term and then bullish long term, that is a valid buy entry signal. Okay. Now I'm not sure how this trade is going to work out, but I can tell you exactly how you're going to trade it. So here is when you'd actually be looking to take this long signal, because everything is finally matching up with what you're supposed to do according to the rules. Okay, and here's how you'd actually kind of take advantage of it. Let's go ahead and kind of zoom in on this little area right here. Okay, now Rahul basically, once this all establishes, he wants to kind of set up another kind of test for the stock. He wants to make sure that the momentum continues in the direction that he anticipates. And so what he does is he'll take a look at the high of this particular bar, which is 168.93. And look at the high of the bar before that, which is 168.59. Whichever of these is higher, he's actually going to put a little bit of a line, just a couple pennies above that entry position. Okay. The next thing that he's going to do is he's going to establish the same thing, looking at either the lows or the recent support area. So right here, if I was looking at the last two lows, this low is obviously lower. I'd want to go ahead and put in basically a line right below that line as well. Okay. So basically the rules are pretty simple. We're looking at this is an entry point. So 169. Go ahead and type that on a chart right here. 169 would be our entry point. That was going to be where we're going to buy into this particular instrument. And then if we do buy in because it goes above 169, we want to go ahead and, we want to use this other line as a stop loss. Okay, so in that particular case, our stop loss would be 165.59 on this. So I'll go ahead and type that on here. Okay, and so now I've got a good mechanical understanding of where I want to get in. I want to get in at 169. If I get into this trade and it goes against me, the most I'll let it go against me is 165.9. So not only do I have a measurement of my entry, I know exactly where I'm going to get in. Well, unless it gaps up, and then in that case I had to kind of make a guess in terms of what I should do. But I also have a pretty good idea of where I'm going to get out. So I have a pretty good idea of risk. In this case, I'm going to say if it goes 4 points against me, that's it. We're going to wait for it to set up another trade, maybe in the other direction, or wait for it to establish a trend. And in that case, we'll just get out of the market. So you have a pretty good, again, money management strategy. You know where you're going to get out of this trade. In this particular case, we go ahead and trigger into a trade. The very next day, it goes above our 169. It does open and then go above it. So we could get in at pretty close to 169. We establish our stop loss at 165.59, and then we kind of see how it goes. Now, this is a fairly new trade. So right now it's about 3 points in the money, so nothing too incredible. It could very well come back down here and test our stop loss and stop us out, but that's how you would trade it. And we're pretty comfortable because we do have our stop in place. Okay, because I want to show you how this works both on the short side and how to move your stops, because obviously you want to be able to take some profit out of this. I'm going to go to the kind of the big fall in the market that we had, and would just show you how you would trade in conjunction with that. So far that trade's okay. Not all of these trades work out. It's important to say that nothing is perfect, but this is a good way to kind of manage that risk and that kind of stuff. So right here, let's just say that we kind of started, and you'll notice way before we had that huge correction in the marketplace, the RMO was bearish. It started being bearish right about here, but let's just kind of assume that we started to kind of take a trade right in this area. We did have a bullish trigger. It did go bullish for a couple of days, but we never really got blue bars, which means this line never kind of crossed up to where we would be buying in. Instead, what happened is it went the other way. So let's go ahead and kind of zoom in and kind of pretend we were looking at this chart right here and how we would have taken that particular short and how we would have managed the stops for that particular short and that kind of stuff. So right here, 1231, so this is still last year, we would have gotten the short signal. We would have gotten the short signal in a bearish zone. Okay, so RMO is below 0. Our long-term readings are bearish. Our short-term readings are bearish. Okay, and so then we've got a valid trade to take. Okay, in that particular case, we're going to be looking at this low, and obviously this was the lower low, so we're going to get in at any price below this price, which is 173.82. Okay, let me go ahead and type that on the chart. Obviously, it gapped down a little bit before we could get in, so we're not going to get in at 173.82, but we're going to take a look at the highs. We're going to put in a stop right about 179.64. Okay, so 179.64, pretty easy to do. Again, we're just looking at kind of what the price is doing. We do get a pretty good gap down, and let's just go ahead and say we took a short here on this open, which would put our entry price at the open 171.50. Okay. Now, we kind of like that because it did go down. It went down quite a bit this year. It was a great first of the year to be short, I will say that. Let's go ahead and kind of scroll out a little bit. And as long as we're bullish, if we're in a trade, we're making money, and it's going down on us, and it's bearish, we're just going to kind of be paying attention to it every day. There's a few reasons we're going to get out of this trade, but if everything goes against us, for example, if this gets bullish all of a sudden, we'll get out. But in this particular case, it doesn't. We do finally set a support level here at 158. Starts to work back up here. Here we get another buy signal. Okay, so we get a signal in the opposite direction because it starts to flatten out and go up again. In this particular case, we start to pay attention. We wouldn't get out of this trade just yet because it's still bearish long term. It's still bearish short term. It's going to fluctuate and come back a little bit, but until those trends change, we'll stay in the trade. Now, if it goes bullish on us long term and short term, we'll go ahead and get out of that trade. But in this particular case, it just comes up, tests a little bit of a ceiling up here, and here we get another signal to go ahead and go short. Okay, so in this particular case, all we're doing is we're paying closer attention because there's been that change of momentum. What eventually happens is the market naturally hits a resistance area and starts to work its way back down, which causes another change of momentum to the downside. Now this is kind of important because when this happens, we want to move our stop. Okay, so we don't want to buy more shorts. We don't want to short more. Rahul's pretty specific about that, but he does, when you do have this little bit of a pullback in against your position and then it starts to move in the same direction again, he does want you to tighten up that stop. So if we're looking here at this high and here at this high, basically we're going to say, okay, well, what's the higher value of these two highs? That's one way you can set a stop. And you're just basically going to put your stop above that high zone. So now what you're doing is you're putting in profit protection. You've had probably one of the biggest moves down that you've seen since September of last year. And so you want to be able to lock in some of that profit if it goes the right way or if it goes against you, which is what happens. So here we put in a new stop of 162.51. Market goes down a little bit and then it starts to go up and then you stop out of that trade. So that's exactly, most of the time you're not going to be getting out of that trade because, or out of a trade because everything's changing direction on you. Most of the time, you're going to be getting out on a stop loss. Okay. What's pretty kind of cool about this, if we look at this huge drop that we had, it was bearish for most of the time. It is a little bit bullish right now. It does kind of sometimes change a little bit. But if we look at the drop that happened in September of last year, I'm sure you guys remember that. It was almost as severe. It was bearish the whole time. So it does do a really good job of kind of keeping you on the right side of that trade. And if you can be kind of short for some of these massive down moves or even the up moves that the market's having, it's very, very beneficial for you. And it works really good. It's a very, very simple system for understanding stuff like that. Basil says, would you mind showing us the symbol CPXX on a 15-minute chart? Yeah, okay, looking at the time, I can do that. So let's see how that looks on a 15-minute chart. I'm not sure it'll work good, but that's kind of the fun of it, right? CPXX. Celator Pharmaceuticals. Okay, let's go ahead and change over to that. We'll go ahead and select the instrument here. Okay. And let's change that to a 15-minute chart. Okay. I just had some pretty good movement here. The recommendation that I would have is with any particular thing that you're looking to follow is to kind of, if you like this and you kind of want to use it and you want to kind of look at it on the trial, go ahead and play with it on the trial and play with it on paper. And then if you like it some more and if it seems to work on CPXX or whatever you're interested in, I like a share or two or an option or two. I like to do options, but kind of phase it in as you get more and more comfortable with it. Because one of the things that's nice about technical analysis, in my opinion, is your ability to paper trade. But I'm not a huge fan of paper trading because I just don't pay as much attention unless I've got real money on the line. But to trade small. To kind of test your business plans. CPXX looks like it had a really good day today. Here you would have had a bullish zone, had a pretty good move up to the long side today, and we're bullish for the whole thing. What you would have done, again, following the rules on this thing, is you would have put an entry position right about here. Okay, would have taken 2 bars to trigger. You'd have had a stop loss because you want a stop loss in place, probably right about here. Okay, and in this particular case, it did come back down and hit that stop loss. So as much as I'd like to say that was a very successful trade, you actually stopped out before it moved up. So in this particular case, it wasn't a super good trade. But there you go. Too bad. would have rather had it be a good one, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In any case, let's look at another chart. For those of you that are USO traders, let's go ahead and open up USO. So USO is very similar in nature to crude. It's going to have the USO I'm an ETF trader if you can't tell, but what's interesting here is we've kind of had this huge bearish zone and it's kind of fallen apart a couple of times. It just tweaked bullish and we kind of have a bullish setup now. I don't know that necessarily that's going to stick, but one of the things I love about RMO is we can kind of identify these huge trends in the chart, right? We had this huge massive drop and look, it's bearish the whole time. Here you have this big massive drop. It's bearish the whole time. Had a little bit of a bounce here and you could have made some money here, but these long sustained trends that we seem to have in the market more and more frequency actually tend to do really, really well with this particular system or this particular methodology. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today. It works pretty good on stocks like Apple, Google, those types of things. Again, it's a pretty simple system. Hopefully it's helpful for you to understand. Hope you kind of like it. Okay, and all this stuff I actually already talked about. So again, we did this year we run, again, it's a very small part of MetaStock. We do have probably about 42 built-in systems in MetaStock now. This is just one of them. it's one that I happen to like quite a bit because it's the one that I started to trade with. My very first non-paper trade was with RMO, and I traded it almost exclusively for years. But just one. There's 40 something systems in MetaStock. Again, it's been rated #1 in its price category for 23 years in a row. And then our MetaStock RT, our MetaStock Professionals, actually won best in its price category 10 years. So we'll go ahead and skip through some of this stuff. Really kind of what I wanted to do is kind of get you some interested enough in MetaStock to do what we call an extended trial today. I'd encourage you to try it out. It's kind of hard to win awards 24 times in a row and still just keep winning them. But MetaStock, we have two versions. We have a version that updates every hour. We call it MetaStock End of Day or MetaStock DC. It's only $60 a month. So $59, that includes data. And kind of the offer that I'm giving it to you is you can try it out. It's $20 a month because if you buy 1 month, I'm going to give you 3 months. Now, so that means for $20 a month or for $60, you can run it March, April, May, till May 14th, if I can add to 3 right. Pretty good way to try it. We're going to include a lot of training, which I'll talk about in a second. Our MetaStock RT is normally $250. It includes that Zenith product that they developed for over $1 billion. Some of the best news in the industry, the best fundamentals in the industry, and some of the best technicals in the industry. That's only $250 a month. Again, it includes data, and you can get a buy one, get two free. So on that as well. With that, I'm going to include the Unleash the Power of MetaStock for free for you. It's normally $100, but it just shows you how to use RMO, but it also shows you how to use a system tester, the forecaster, the back tester. It's pretty, like I said at the beginning, it's a very, very big tool. We want you to be able to understand that tool like any other tool, so the better you understand how to use it, the better it's going to work for you. So we're going to include a lot of training. Again, we don't want you just to pay for a month and then quit after 3 months. We want you to keep using the software, and I hope you like it as much as I do. So to take advantage of that, and I do see another question or two popping in, I'll get to those in just a second, but to take advantage of us, give us a call, or if you have questions, give us a call. The phone number is 800-252-9901. Just mention the CTU webinar. So Stephen says, is this MetaStock 14? Yes. I have a new computer, and so that MetaStock 12 slide was old. It is actually the latest version of MetaStock. I just grabbed the wrong PowerPoint and the wrong slide when I was getting there. Wayne says, does this work on Canadian stocks from the USA on TSX? Yes, we do have Toronto Stock Exchange. We do have a little bit about our coverage because one of the things that's been beneficial for us as a company is our partnership with Reuters. So Reuters, if you're not familiar with the company, is like a $15 billion a year company, a massive company. But their main business, and I'm sure like you'll see the contributed by Thomson Reuters in the newspaper all the time because they've got like something like 30,000 reporters on the ground contributing to those type of things. But their main business is selling data and information to institutions and brokerages. It's like 90% of their business model. And we have all that data. So if you're in London and you want London exchanges, you can have it. If you're in India and you want Indian exchanges, you can have it. If you're in Canada and you want Canadian exchanges, we've got the data. Reuters says they cover about 95% of the global market cap. So we have tons and tons and tons of data that's available through Reuters, and most likely, with no exception, no matter what you want, you'll be able to get out of MetaStock. Basil asks, is MetaStock and MetaTrader the same thing? No, MetaTrader is a company that just does forex, works with a lot of brokerages, and liberally borrowed our trademarks a few years ago. So it's a different company. It's a Russian-based company. We're the original MetaTrader. Okay. Don, it does work with TOS, but not on TOS. I use TOS as my trading platform. It's a standalone independent platform. And Stephen, we get all of our data from Reuters. So Thomson Reuters is the data that we're using. It's the same feed that the banks and brokerages are paying for. Includes the same news that they're paying for. The difference is that we've got it as a little bit more of a retail offering. So. But that's kind of what I had today. It went a little bit shorter than I anticipated. But I really appreciate you guys coming. I hope it was enjoyable for you. Hope it was interesting for you. I hope you do take the trial. It's $20 a month for the next 3 months, and I hope you enjoy MetaStock as much as I do. Don says, does it work on any time frame? You can use MetaStock on just about any time frame that you want. Yes. So. All right. And in addition to my thanks, I'd like to thank Fausto for having me, Cyber Trading University for hosting us. And if you have any questions, my email is right there, jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. Feel free to reach out to me, and I will answer you. Okay. Thanks, guys. That's it. I'm going to call it. Appreciate it, and I'll see you at the next one.